The history of ancient Tamils had its beginnings in the rich alluvial plains near the southern extremity of peninsular India, which included the land mass known as the island of Sri Lanka. The Tamils in Sri Lanka are divided into early Sri Lankan Tamils, whose descendants arrived in Sri Lanka many centuries ago, and the Indian Tamils, who were brought into Sri Lanka from India by the British during the colonial period. Early Tamils had a continuous presence in the island from ancient times. It seems plausible that Tamil fishermen and mariners arrived at a very early date, because the southern Indian homeland of the Tamils is so close to northern Sri Lanka. Sangam literary sources speak of active trading centers in southern India as early as the 3rd century BCE, and it is probable that these centers had at least some contact with settlements in northern Sri Lanka. Among all the names that are currently in use for the island of Sri Lanka, Eelam seems to be the oldest, simultaneously attested by literature as well as epigraphy. It is a well-established fact that for at least 2000 years, Eelam was in continued use without any change in its form in Tamil usage to denote the entire island. In the Tamil anthologies of the Sangam period, there are the names of poets and authors from Eelam who had connections with the Tamil Sangam. Thus, Puthan Devnar was the author of several poems during the second Sangam. There were many from Eelam who graced the third Sangam. Historical records establish that Tamil kingdoms in ancient South India were closely involved in Sri Lanka's affairs from about the 2nd century BC. Elalan, a king of the Chola dynasty, seized the throne of Anuradhapura and established his rule for a period of 44 years. In the 7th century, Tamil influence became firmly embedded in the island's culture when Singla prince Mahavamsa seized the throne with Pallava assistance. By the middle of the 9th century, the Pandyas had risen to a position of ascendancy in southern India, invaded northern Sri Lanka, and sacked Anuradhapura. The Cholas, initially under Rajarajan the Great, were impatient to recapture the royal insignia. They sacked Anuradhapura and annexed Rajrata, the heartland of the Singla kingdom, to the Chola Empire. For 75 years, Sri Lanka was ruled directly as a Chola province. Sri Lanka is said to have been inhabited by Yakkas and Nagas before the arrival of Vijaya and his men who colonized the island. Nagas were totemic tribes, not supernatural beings. The Nagas of pre-Vijayan Lanka lived around the peninsula in the north. In the 2nd century, Ptolemy, the Greek geographer, compiled a map of Lanka, and his Nagdiboi is identical with Naghadipa, the northern kingdom. The island of Nainativu, which some consider to have been connected with the hallowed place visited by the Buddha when he came to Naghadipa. Northern Naga kingdom by the end of the 3rd century ceased. It is not known for the present whether the Naga dynasty continued to rule in the northern kingdom or became merged at some stage with a line of Tamil kings. Many scholars have identified the origin of the Pallavas with the island of Manipallavam mentioned in the Manimekalai. According to them, the Pallavas were descended on one side from the Cholas and on the other from the Naga rulers of the Naghadipa. Verse 6 of the Velur inscription says that Pallava king Veerakurchan obtained the insignia of royalty along with the hand of a Naga princess. Before the rise of the Pallavas, the Nagas were the rulers of the Kachi, ruled by Basro Naga. It is therefore possible that Veerakurchan married the heiress of the last Naga king, and thus he became the first Pallava king of the Kachi. Kile Valavan, a Chola king, married the Naga maiden Pilivalai, the daughter of Valaivanan. It is also said that, over time, the Nagas lost their individuality through intermarriage. Jaffna Peninsula and surrounding region was part of the chiefdom of Naghadipa. Jaffna is known in Tamil as Yazhpanam and was earlier known as Yazhpanapattinam. Arya Chakravarti rulers made the Yazhpana kingdom independent and a regional power to reckon with in Sri Lanka. Nellore, a suburb of Yazhpanam, served as the capital of the kingdom. The first Arya Chakravarti king of Yazhpanam was the leader of the Pandyan invasion who brought an end to the Malay chieftain domination in Sri Lanka. The peacock coins of the Arya Chakravartis were issued from Nellore after the erection of the Nellore Murugan temple, and the worship of Murugan became very popular among the people. Archaeological research in Kandharodai concluded that those who inhabited the Yazhpanam in ancient times had a very close relationship with the southern part of India. Potsherds with early Tamil writing from the 5th century BC have been found from the north in Punakari to the south in Tissamharama. Mahavamsa and its continuation Kulavamsa provides adequate clues to a strong Tamil presence in the island of Sri Lanka. Evidence suggests that during the early centuries of Sri Lankan history, there was considerable harmony between the Sinhalese and Tamils.